So I'm going to show you how to clean a convertible cloth top or a canvas top. And there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. First of all, a couple little tips. A, don't ever use a pressure washer. Just last week, I had a cloth top here and it had all these ziggly lines everywhere from where someone used too sharp or too powerful of a point on their pressure washer, and that kind of damage can never be fixed. Next, if the top is really dirty, before you get it wet and wash it, go ahead and use a vacuum. This is just a vacuum brush, and do what's called dry extraction. The idea being to pull the dirt out before you introduce water to the top, because when you get the top wet, gravity naturally pulls the dirt deeper into the weave. And these cloth tops, they've got kind of a weave to them, so that's where the dirt gets trapped down into. So again, try to dry extract if they're heavily soiled or heavily dusty, and then get them wet. And you can also use an air tool to kind of blow them out. Okay, now, the most important thing about cleaning a cloth top actually is less about the chemical, it's more about the brush. Now, this is a brush specifically designed by the Hartz company in conjunction with RaggTopp. And Hartz, if you don't know, is the largest manufacturer of the actual top itself. So when the manufacturer of this material says use this, probably a pretty good idea. But here's what makes this thing unique. Besides the ergonomic handle that's easy to hold, these bristles are 2 inches long, they're very flexible, and they're flagged or split on the end. And what this means is when you're cleaning, they're gentle to the fabric so you don't make it fuzzy. Because if you use a coarse brush and you scrub cloth, you make it fuzzy, and then there's no way to make it unfuzzy. So that's why you want to use a soft bristle brush. But also, just because it has these 2-inch long bristles, it allows these bristles to flex, and it allows the tips of these to get into that, like I was saying, it has a weave to it. So it gets into there, agitates it so you can flush all the dirt out. And that's important because after you're done cleaning it, you're gonna wanna put a protection product on there to protect it. And you should do this about twice a year if it's a garage clean, maybe even more often if it's a daily driver. And the thing about this is it's important that the top is not only clean, but it's also got to be bone dry, like completely dry, in order for this to make a proper bond. So anytime you're going to do a cloth top cleaning and protection project, just factor in the amount of time it's going to take to wash it and then let it dry, perhaps overnight, before you put the protectant on. So this isn't a one and done kind of process. You need a little bit of time in there for the top to dry. And you can do things to speed it up, like park it in the sun. The problem with that is then you get airborne dirt and dust on the top you just cleaned. Or you put it in your garage and put a fan next to it, let some air go by it for a few hours, and then it'll be dry. Okay, then as far as washing goes, the first thing you want to do is you just want to thoroughly wet the top. And I like to use the fan or the shower setting for this. And at this point, you want to try to flush off any loose dirt that you can, but mostly just get it nice and wet. Okay, so anything that could rinse off is now rinsed off. The next thing you want to do is take the RaggTopp cleaner. This can be used on both vinyl and on cloth tops. And what I like to do is actually spray down a fairly heavy concentration. I want the chemical cleaners or the cleaning agents going to work for me, because just like the same way your glass and your paint get traffic film or road grime on it, that also happens to anything exposed to the outside, so your top. And road grime is that oily film from all the cars that are driving down the road, and then they're dripping like motor oil, power steering fluid, transmission fluid down the center of the highway. Then when it rains, all that washes up onto your car. So we all see the road grime and traffic film build up on these types of surfaces, but if you got a convertible, it's building up here too. So I like to use a heavy application, and then you want to take your brush and usually just want to agitate in 2 directions. And because there's a rib running here, it's actually easier just to go between the ribs than it is to try to go over it, because you feel this bumpiness like you're driving over a bump in the road. So just kind of like this, just lightly agitate it. And for this linear panel back here, I just run it in the direction of the length of the panel. Then just do a crosshatch pattern. And chances are good, something as simple as 2 to 3 passes like this is gonna agitate the top safely, but enough to flush out all the dirt. And then of course you move to the other side and repeat the process. And then of course you also wanna get the sides and the back. But anyway, that's how you use the brush and the cleaner. Then of course come back and thoroughly rinse it off. And when I say thoroughly, see how this looks like kind of soap suds is kind of forming up there? You want to rinse it till you see it run clear or flush clear. No more soap coming out of the cloth. And that's how you can tell you've removed all the soap, which means you removed all the dirt. And that is how you carefully clean a cloth top. And that is what I mean by flushing clear. All the water is completely clear. That means I got all the soap out of there, all the dirt out of there. Now I'm ready to jump over the side. Anyway, that's how you clean a cloth top. Later on in this video, we'll show you how to protect it. After you fully washed and rinsed the car, let me show you the safest way to dry the top. Take a clean, dry microfiber towel, and instead of rubbing it over the top like you would use on glass or paint, what you want to do is just blot it out. And the reason you do this, so I'm just going to lay this here, then just kind of massage it with my hands. And what this does is it causes the water in the top to move out of these fibers into these fibers through what's called capillary action. That's where a liquid moves between two mediums. But anyway, instead of rubbing this or any kind of chamois over the top, you basically just blot the top. And the benefit is you're not rubbing, which can also cause the top to become fuzzy. So it's all about keeping the top in good shape and pristine, but part of that is just to not make your canvas top look fuzzy because there's no way to undo that. So use the blotting technique to dry it instead of rubbing. So now that this top has completely dried, it's time to apply the protection. Now, I spoke with RaggTopp last week, and I asked them about all these new ceramic coatings coming out for cloth tops. And they said at this time, the Hartz company, that's the people that make the top, they don't recommend ceramic coatings for their tops. So stick with something they do recommend. You know, when a company's working with the actual manufacturer, don't they know their products best? Now here's my big tip. Whenever you're spraying this on, besides doing it in a well-ventilated area, you can see how much overspray there is flying this way, you know. So I always shoot into the car. I would never come up here and spray this way because I got all this overspray that's just hitting the windshield, is wasting it. So I turn it this way. That's what I mean. I'm always spraying into the car. So all the overspray is landing on the top. That's where I want my protectant. I don't need it on the glass. I don't need it on the paint. And usually what I will do for a soft top protection package is I will drain the entire can onto the top. And anywhere you have a seam, the material itself is made out of acrylic fibers, but the stitching is polyester. And if you've ever looked at an older top, where does the top give up first? The stitching, okay? So where you have a seam, put some extra product. This has UV protection. The biggest enemy of just about anything, including us, is the sun. You know, it ages us, it fades things, it breaks things down. But what I will do is I'll put a nice heavy coat on like this, and I'll show you the Mike Phillips technique. Now the directions on the can say to spray it and let it dry. But I don't really like doing that because I don't want my protection sitting on the surface. I want it in the weave of the cloth. So I checked with RaggTopp and they approved my addition to their directions. And now this is the official way you put this on. You work this in. Does that make sense? Instead of just let it sit there and dry, massage it in. That's where you want the protection. You want it into the weave. And what I want you to do is look how crisp and dark and beautiful it makes this top. Boom, that's how you do it. And then you want to let this completely dry, and usually that means leaving it indoors so it completely dries and it locks onto that surface to protect it in the future. Anyway, that's how you clean and protect a canvas top.